SPconvo, SPconvo. Let's do it. Happy 4th, happy 4th of July, people. 250 years. America, you did it! You did it, America! 250 years! Now, what does this mean moving forward? I tell you what it means. 250 years. Happy Independence Day, US of A. You know, I'm thinking about some things, right? The original narrative of America is black and white. The tension, the foundation of this country is due to the white natives and the black natives. People that have been here before the country was called United States of America. Of course, people came here from afar, eliminated the Indians that was here, pushed made wars occur between different nationals of European descent people. They all had their little civil war within the New World, so on and so forth. Now it leads to United States of America right now. Okay. But I was thinking, the new America is a culturally divisive country. The 250-year America is a culturally divisive country. The old America was just white and black. It was a racially divided due to skin color country. All the immigrants that migrated to America, for the most part, they still fall into the category of a people of color, which is anybody that have a darker hue than an original white-skinned person. So that will put everybody that have a clear skin in the same pocket. You know, some white Hispanics or Latinos, some white Asians, some white Europeans, Canadians, Australians, etc. But they all had different cultures. And the one thing that the white people have that's from Europe and Eastern Europe and Western Europe is mainly the fact that 90% of their race and culture is pure white. Every other white skinned nation is more so diluted with other race mixture. So the Hispanics is not pure white race. Nah, that's finished. So they're more in the Negro category. The Asians, Southeast Asian have black blood in them. Okay? So they fall in the people of color category. You know? Of course, you know the Africans is pure black. The Aborigines of Australia, they mixed, so they fall into the people of color category. All right, so Brazilians, all right. So the point I'm saying is, you have all these different nations that in their country, they may be whoever they are, but once they leave their country and they come to the United States of America, they're going to be classified as black. So in America, when people come to America from different countries, they want to say they're not black because they have a different culture. But to a white man, you're black because you can never relate to them. Even the Hispanics can never relate to the white man because their culture is different. Hispanics eat rice and beans, tamales, tortillas, things like that. White man not eating that. As a whole, he not eating that. That's not his country. That's not his culture. He don't desire that. He desired that good old stock, that provision. You understand? That ground provision, that mashed potato, them beans, if that. And the beans he like is them plain boring beans. So nothing with too much flavor, you know. He like that dare. Where the Latinos, they're a whole mixed breed from different races. So now you really can't classify them as white. But in their country, they can classify as whatever they want in the Caribbean and South and East and Central America. But when it comes to America, white America, they can't hold a candle. So it's that right there that the blacks and any other group of color supposed to have in common. They're supposed to have that in common. So why? So where's the disconnect? Okay, the disconnect is trying to reach the top, trying to be adjacent, trying to be assimilated with white culture. But this is the biggest lie. They make people believe that they want it in America, but they're not. America don't want you. America never wanted nobody here. They wanted a whole white nation. And they wanted to enslave the blacks, have the blacks work for them for free, and then send them back on a boat to Africa. But they got smart. They realized if we get rid of the blacks, what kind of country we gonna have? No labor. We're not gonna have no labor because white people enslaved other whites in Europe. So when they freed white people enslaved other white people in Europe, right? They always enslaving the people depending on what ethnic group. I'm not going to say what country enslaved other countries. I'm just going to say there was white people that was enslaved by other white people. So when they left Europe and they came to America, they all had to fight it out the same way as their culture was back then in Europe. But when they came to America, they used their brain. They all stuck together and realized, hey, we're going to classify as a white race, and we're definitely going to all be on board, and we're going to come at these black people. Because if everybody was back home in Europe, everybody be fighting each other. But in America, it's the country where everybody could change the script, do new things, and act like everything back home no longer exists. That's the old America, when it's just white people banding together to keep the blacks down. But like I said, they had to pass a law to keep the black slaves as citizens, or else they would have lost their labor. Because I don't care. 400 years of free labor, 100 years of free labor, 200 years of free labor, you're going to become lazy. Not the people that were slaves, the people that forced the slaves to do what they do. You're going to be content. You're going to be comfortable of giving orders, right? You're going to be comfortable of giving orders. So then your offspring become lazy and your offspring become privileged. All right. Now the new America, 2026. For the past, I'll say 50 or 60 years since the civil rights movement, probably a little bit before, let's say 1950. So the past 70 years, 75 years, you had different ethnic groups migrate to America, making their way in the country, assimilating into the country as best they could, going to school, learning the U.S. education, learning the U.S. system as best they could. And now for it to be 2026, America don't want them here no more. America's saying, go back home. Go back home. Now, what is home? A place where you live, reside, do things at, right? Sleep, raise a family, X, Y, and Z. Well, what is home for other people? A place where they reside, they have a culture and in sync, a way of carrying themselves, a language that ties them together, a dress code, a music, a tradition. Now, what happens when you break that culture? What happens when you leave that land, leave that country, and you come to America? Their parents still have that culture and that tradition, steadfast. The kids are adapting to the new country that they're born in, America. So as the parents age and outdated pass on, the kids take half of the country that they grew up in and half of their mother and father's teachings of the country that they came from. After that child age out, the next generation of children will become fully Americanized. So let's say 5, 6, 7 generations in, you ask some kids that don't know nothing about their great grandparents' country of origin. You asking them to go back home. How they supposed to do that? Well, when you're in a country where you keep practicing your parents' and grandparents' culture, the country that you're in feels like you disrespected them and that you don't want to be here. And I think that's where we're at now as a nation. I think the Trump administration, I think the United States government don't want foreigners in America because they're not patriotic. They still reading newspapers of where their parents came from instead of looking into the news of the country. The country that's feeding you and providing you things that your parents moved to, you worrying about the country that your parents come from. And what brought me to this is not that if Donald Trump says it out loud or not, but Donald Trump was asked a question about something going on in Germany, and he said, "Good luck to them." Now we know his father's side of the family come from Germany, and his mother's side of the family come from Scotland. But you never hear Trump really talk about those foreign countries like that. You never hear him talk about that publicly. He always talk about America, America, America. So let's just say that Donald Trump got the game plan down pat. He's pro-American to the T when he outside in public. And maybe in the house he's pro-Germany or pro-Scotland. Maybe. But as far as you ever hear him talking speeches, he always talk about America, 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 America. And he don't speak nothing about his forefathers' nation, right? I think if all the other immigrants was to do that and have done that, I think they'd be in a better position. I think if they would never came to America waving a country flag in America, I think they would have been in a better position. I honestly believe that. I honestly believe that America would have been the greatest country on earth if the boundaries and the rules and regulations were set straight and some of the Constitution was tweaked. Because how does it feel for people that you know to get deported who've been in this country for over 40 years, 50 years, and they don't know nothing else but America? I'm talking about the children. Of course, the parents do get information from their country, but the kids, all they know about is America. Most of them don't. Most of them don't even plan on going back home with their parents to their country, to their parents' country. They want to stay in America. So it's those children that's going through a divide of why I got to go back home to a country that's not mine. Because if you listen to kids, kids speak on it. They talk out loud. That's not my country. That's your country, ma. That's your country, grandpa, grandma, daddy. That's not my country. They want to stay here. They grew up in America. The 4th of July brings all these feelings and emotions up to the front because I have people in a household fretting because most people are playing double agent. They're playing double agent. They're saying they have two homes. You got to pick a side in life because the slaves that got removed from Africa and brought to America, they didn't have no choice. And somebody gonna say, "Oh well, that's dumb. That's what happened to them." But they got to do with me. That's typical people's behavior, responses to things. But it should be that way. If your country of origin is that country of origin, you're supposed to be loyal to that country of origin. So when it gets bad in America, you want to dip back out, but have the benefits of America when you're in when you're in your parents' country. Is that what it is? And then when things get bad in your parents' country, you can dip back to America once America gets developed. Let's say people feel like that's how they're supposed to live, as freely as they want. So now, which country benefits? Who's the user? Who's the manipulator? Who's the shortcut taker? 250 years of America going through whatever it's going through to finally become the country that it is now. Racism is still at the top of the list. Whenever a black man harms another black man, people don't say much. Whenever a white man harms a black man, it's up in the news. Whenever a black man harms a white man, it's up in the news. Whenever a white woman gets harmed by a black man, it's up in the news. Whenever a white woman harms a black man, it's up in the news. Anything involving that original black and white cookie is up in the news. That's the original narrative of United States of America. Race. And that is falling down from a barometer of 100 to about 60%. Because now it's culturally biasness. That's the new thing. Everybody may have the same skin color as mine, but their culture is different from mine. So because I may have grew up in America, talking English, eating McDonald's, Pizza Hut, Chinese food, because in neighborhoods, Chinese food has become somewhat an American thing because it's been here for so long, for about 40 years. They're just a regular thing now. And they too have all the other countries came to America, right? And they too have implemented their restaurants, their foods, their flavors, their talking points, their language, their culture. That become an infusion on top of the American culture. For certain cities, everything means America culture. Like New York City, everybody's culture is infused into New York City, so that becomes American to New York City people. Atlanta, Georgia is different. Alabama is different. California is different. There's 50 states in America. So America's identity is different according to which state and who you ask of that state and city. But down south is black and white with the mixture of some Latinos. And now with the immigrants coming in, you got some Somalians in Minnesota, you got some Haitians in Ohio, you got Ecuadorians spread it out, Venezuelans spread it out, que sera, sera, sera. So that's why I said the new America is culturally biased. It's a culturally biased one. Somebody said they never seen a dark-skinned Mexican at one time. And I stood there and I said, I'm going to say this one name. And you're going to tell me if that person that dark-skinned. And that person don't have to be jet black as me. Or jet black as an African from Togo or Congo. But this person is darker hue. And this person can never pass for white. At all. Never. So the lady said, nah, I never seen no dark-skinned Mexican out. Oh, I don't care what you say. I said, what are you talking about? George Lopez, the dark-skinned Mexican. He cannot pass for white at all. No shape, form, creed at all. He don't have white features. He don't have nothing white. The person said, oh, I wasn't thinking about him. Yeah, I wasn't thinking about him. Yeah. I'm so used to the Mexicans that you see on TV acting. Yeah, you're right, you're right. Yeah, wow, you're right, you're right. I'm saying, come on, man. You have black people that was mixed with Mexicans in Central America and North America, you know? Because Mexico is really part of North America. It's closest to America, you know? You ain't really hitting South America till you go up, but you know, Mexico is really part of North America. So, when I said that, she was like, okay, yeah. But still, I'm not black. He's not black American. I said, right. And she said, well, to me, everybody's black. If you come from the Caribbean, you're black. If you come from Africa, you're black. If you come from Australia, you're black. If you come from England and British, you're black. Because those people come from Africa and the Caribbean and they moved to England, they moved to Europe, they moved to London. They're still black. Just because their kids was born there don't mean they're not black. I said, lady, what's this thing with you and this black? What's this thing with you and this black thing? She said, that's the only thing we have to step on. That's the only thing we have to springboard off of. That's the only thing we have to find out, where we could gauge in. I said, interesting. And then she said, if she went to another country, she'd be lost because nobody going to tell her nothing. Nobody going to give her a heads up to where to start and how to, pick up off her. So I said, let me ask you a question because I asked her. I said, your people came to America. They have money? She said, no. I said, so how you get money? She said, I'm older now, I could tell you. She said, America gave us money. America gave it to us. Honestly, they gave it to us. They gave us housing to move into. They told us as long as we stay away from certain people, we can have that. I said, the government told you to stay away from some people? She said, I said, the government told you that or your parents told you that? She said, yeah, my parents told me that. I said, why would your parents tell you that? She said, oh, because, where I come from, we don't like black people. So I said, well, in America, black people don't have to answer to you. Black people are rich. Black people are educated. Black people have, you know. She said, what's that? I said, black people have, I said, black people know how to hold their own. They don't need nobody. They don't like answering to nobody. They do the same thing like every other ethnic group. They stay to their own. They stay to themselves. She said, She said she never was taught to look at it like that. She said, yeah, I never was taught to look at it like that. So America and Americans, because black Americans and white Americans have the same culture. And that's when I decided in my mind, I said, yeah, it's the culture. It's other countries not liking the American culture. The culture of having a free mind, able to accomplish things, having options. The culture of being the work was already put in. The pain was put in for 400 years of slavery. Now you can have the rewards. And yes, the black people can have the rewards too. Millionaire deals, rap artists, basketball championships. You could be the top scientist if you want. You could be a clothing designer like Kanye West. You could be a college professor like Kanye West's mom. You know, you could do what you want in America as long as you know how to conduct yourself. Culturally, black Americans know how to conduct themselves in America and also abroad. Now, we're not getting the ignorant ones confused, the ones that's educated and informed. The educated American black and the educated white American know how to carry themselves home and abroad. Home and abroad. The ignorant people of any group don't know much. So who they are is who they are wherever they go. For too long, people have had an image of black Americans as being lazy, non educated, chatty patty, rambunctious, obnoxious, arrogant, don't know nothing, and stupid. But when you hear certain black American stars speak, like Michael Jackson, you wouldn't call him stupid. Michael Jordan, you wouldn't call him stupid. Even the most complex, arrogant, didn't know too much, or did he? Boxer Mike Tyson is smart. Whitney Houston, smart. That's why America have this thing. American culture is presentation, perception. The perception of an artist is one way. When they in the interview and they speaking, their presentation gets you a closer understanding of who they is after their job. After their performance, the interview, you get an understanding of who they is. That's American culture. So American culture is church, music, food, clothing, material wealth, I would say possessions, homes, education. American culture is presentation. American culture is how you carry yourself, how you hold yourself up. When you go to another country and then people see that you're from America, they expect something from you. Not just money, they expect a certain, you understand, presentation of you. So when you carry yourself and you speak very abrupt and stern, and you say this what you demand, this what you expect, but you say it in a way as if you're already paid for your services, so you should not deserve to be treated wrongly. That rubs people the wrong way because in their country they carry that same attitude and they still get treated wrongly because there's no respect there. But in America, you have to have respect for your neighbor. You have to have respect for everybody else. That all is in America culture. It's not just one thing, it's everything inclusive. American culture is about hygiene. You have to take showers. Teeth have to be clean. Haircut, well groomed. Right? Get your medical clearance done. Make sure you don't have no STDs. Make sure you don't have no, you know, sugar, diabetes, high blood pressure. That's part of American culture. All of the above. You have a high culture in America, and you have a low culture. You have people that just do what they want to do, that don't care, kind of sort of on the borderline mental illness. Then you have a high level of culture. The uppities, and everything goes. I mean, you have to be tip top shape, no excuses, strict. A lot of black people in America have that. So America don't want you unless you are in that upper tier. And most people that come from abroad don't have that. They're in survival mode. The upper tier is America middle class. In their country, America middle class is the upper tier. I recently seen a YouTube chat, a blogger, and he expressed how in Europe, I believe there's doctors that get paid X amount of dollars a month, 4,000 a month, or 3,000 a month, and that's a doctor. Yeah, it was a German. A German doctor gets paid $3,400 a month, and in America, a U.S. plumber making 70,000 a year make about 4,000 a month. So a plumber in America, an average plumber in America, makes more money than a doctor in Europe. You understand? So in America, the culture is frowned upon from outsiders because they can't hold a candle to America's finances. They can't hold a candle to America's way of doing things, and they wish they could be very influential on Americans because nobody want to answer to America. They want to have their say too, but you cannot have your say in a country that's not branded yours. Every country have a birth certificate, or every country have a stamp to let you know that you belong to that country. Because Americans cannot go to other people's country and expect anything from other people's countries. Because the people there is not going to be so willing to see Americans come over there and have. Because the first notion in mind is going to be, oh, but Americans already have everything. They come from something. So why would they want to come here and take little what we have? The little we have, why they want to take that? Why they can't just stay in their country, man? And it's not just because they from a different country. Let's be honest and open. That's humanity, man. Everybody want the best. Everybody want the best. Every human being that walk this earth want the best or should want the best. Some don't know how to get there. Some already had the plan. Some is naturally gifted, some is given it, but everybody should want the best. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting the best. So, let's digress a little bit. I think Kamala Harris is going to run in for 2028 election. And I think the reason why she want to run is because she feels slighted that she didn't get a chance to beat Donald Trump for the 2024. Now, I could almost guarantee all the immigrants that's getting deported now under the Trump administration, the Democrats going to try to make a new plan to have immigrants come back into the states. But it's not going to work. Because right now in 2026, the U.S. government and the citizens of the United States of America don't want no more immigrants in the country. So it's happy 4th, but really supposed to be happy you're alive 4th. Happy you're alive. Because people come to America happy to be living under a lie, that they are wanted, that they are accepted, that they are really needed. And they're not really needed. It appeared to them that they believe that they are better than Americans, that they work harder than Americans, that they contribute something brand new that America never seen before in their life. But that's the most biggest false ever. Americans been traveling over the world for so long. Just think about it. I'm lying? Americans haven't been traveling all over the world for so long? I'm lying? Where's the lie? I'll wait. If Americans haven't been traveling all over the world for so long, World War II, how long ago was that? World War One, how long ago was that? Americans, I don't care white or black, Americans have been traveling all over the world for a long time. That's just what it is. Can't take it away. Can't change it. Can't do nothing with it. Can't do nothing with it. I'm getting into this YouTube thing. I'm getting more comfortable behind this camera. And I'm expressing my opinion on what I see and what I observe and what I hear. And for the most part, I don't like what's going on in America. I think everybody should be in America living their life, pushing forward, raising a family. It should be no distraction. It should be no culturally racism out here. It should be no culturally bias out here. Live and let live. But if I honestly think like that every day, somebody's gonna call me a naive idiot. Because as much as I'm an open-minded, open-hearted person, there's somebody that would not mind seeing me and my family be homeless in the street because of the color of my skin. And that's the sad part. That as open-minded as I am and open-hearted as I am, I want to see every human being have. There's another group of people out there that wouldn't mind seeing me and my kids and my family members have nothing. And that's starting from people that look like me first. And that's the thing that's so alarming. It's alarming. Because 250 years, America has to grow up. And we're still dealing with small, petty things. Small idiotic things. First world country. Too many guns in this country. People take their frustration. People take their anger out and frustration out with a weapon of mass destruction. Do you know how powerful a gun is? Do you know how powerful a handgun is? That is a weapon of mass destruction. One little thing this size could go through 2 or 3 people if it hit you through the right spot of those 2 or 3 people bodies. One little thing could take 2 or 3 people out. That is a powerful instrument. America have to curb that. America have to cut down on guns. We just have to cut down on guns. 4th of July brings freedom, celebration. And here we have in New York City, 8 people shot, adults and kids. Could you believe it? Let me play this real quick. Fair use for educational purposes. Fair use. And then I'm going to speak on it. I'm going to speak on something.
With the July 4th traffic, the police couldn't get out. It was unbelievable.
At least 8 people were shot in Brooklyn, Coney Island. At least 8 people were shot in Brooklyn's Coney Island during 4th of July celebrations, including 4 children aged 14 years old and younger in New York City, Brooklyn borough. 250 years to the day, United States of America, first world country, is still going through things like this. Let's get back to it. Let's rewind it back. Woo!
It was crazy, and also with the July 4th traffic, the police couldn't get out. It was unbelievable. And now it's quiet like nothing ever happened. If you go by there, you see bikes, you see children's toys. It's horrible to walk by there. This can't happen again.
Mm, mm, mm. You see that? 250 years. And this is what America still have to deal with. Now, you see her first name, right? And her last name. We don't know what ethnic background she belongs to. We just see a black face and a woman talking in English. And the English she's speaking is the hood English, the ghetto English. But it's an English that's understood. New York City is full of migrants. Migrants all over New York City. And their children are committed to mostly a lot of crimes in the 5 boroughs of New York City. New York City is an immigrant country. An immigrant city. The 5 boroughs of New York are immigrant city. Nobody could deny that. I'm lying? I'm lying? Tell me I'm lying. I'll wait. A person's first and last name could no longer clarify or identify a person be considered a born Black American, African American, FBA child. America keep its receipts. You don't know if that child come from a Caribbean background, a Middle Eastern background, an African background, a Western European background. You don't know. An Australian background. Because anybody can make up a name when it comes to America. Anybody can make up an American name and throw it out there in America, put up the paperwork, and that's your identity. That's always been the case. It's nothing new about it. But for a long time, people's skin color has got them depicted and got them in trouble for crimes they never committed. Just by the skin color, somebody pointing them out and say, yeah, he did it. Next thing you know, 10 years in jail without no due process. So now we're at a time in this country where everybody have to scale back and say, that's not mine, that's him. He belongs to that person. Oh, I don't know that person. I didn't grow up with that person. Their person live in their own enclave, their own community. That's somebody come from that section of Brooklyn. That's somebody come from that section of Harlem. Somebody come from that section of Staten Island. Somebody come from that section of the Bronx. Oh, somebody come from that section of Queens. Oh no, that person come from Long Island, Suffolk, Nassau, Hampstead, Central Islip. You understand? So, this is what I mean culturally biased. This is the new America. 250 years, for the past 30, 40 years, America has been a culturally biased country. As you spread out to different cities as you spread out to different cities in the 50 states of America, you're going to find enclaves of people that speak like they're American, talk like they're American, dress in American clothes, but when you go to their house, they're not American. There's different flags there. So the average American would get in trouble for somebody that's acting like they're American, but they're not American. Not everybody is prone to carrying themselves in a certain way because everybody handle their business differently. And I'm not a master of what crime belongs to who, but I know in America, America's violence is usually with a gun or a punch, right? In Europe, their crimes is usually with knives, right? In certain countries, they use big knives, machetes, to chop your head off, right? You're not going to find an American getting charged with chopping somebody's head off. That's not how they carry themselves. But if a person have black skin, the first thing gonna be said, oh, he's Black American. A Black American use a knife or machete and chop somebody down. But culturally, Black American is not that's not their first thing they choose is the machete. That's not their shit. It's not their thing. It's not their thing. So I said, in the short, I can't wait for America to grow up, be a strict country, an informed country, an educated country, a non-racist country. America gonna be the best. Put all these small things behind and prosper. Put all these small little tidbits behind and prosper. Collectively, I believe all people could come together because if black and white learn how to come together, all other nations that move into America have no choice. Because I firmly believe no group of people could survive and push and be extremely successful on their own. Just not gonna work. White people tried in the beginning of America and they was tearing each other up and they all white. The black people came in and put the slavery thing that the black people with the slaves working with the white, no matter it was forced labor or not, it was white and black still working, and they built the most beautiful country on earth. That's how life goes. Opposites attract, opposites handle business. When the white people started mixing, the Italian married the Irish. I don't know what. I'm just giving a little my opinion. Different people from Europe came to America, started mixing. You got a white European from Scottish, or like Trump. Trump father's German, mom's is Scottish, right? Two different white people from two different parts of Europe, but they mixed with each other, right? Had kids, Trump, so and so. Bam. They started pushing forward. The same thing with the blacks. The blacks are mixing now with different ethnic groups, and you pushing forward, making something of yourself. And I think that's how the world should be. If you want a stronger country, that's how it's going to be. If you want to, if that's how it's going to be, for you to for advancement to have a different opinions, must sit down and think and get a game plan going to decide how you're going to push forward. I always firmly believe that you can't have a group of one people and think you're going to have it all. You have an American, you have a Jamaican, you have an African, you have an Australian, you have a Black Brit, you have a Trinidadian, you know, you have a Grenadian, you have a Cruisian. That's my grandma country. You have a Cruisian there. You have a Bayesian. Okay, all these black people from around the globe, and they all have education and they all have ideas. You sit them together, throw the differences aside, and come from one understanding, and you could push forward. I believe strongly in that. So, once again, happy 4th. Let's do what we got to do. Let's make America great. Put the differences aside. Let's move ahead. And I hope this podcast or this mindset of mine today has been very informative. Until next time, let's do it. SP Convo. SP Convo.